Hello, this is Stuart Nachbar with Educated Quest. With me is George Copley, a founder of the College Tea, which provides opportunities for prospective college students and college ambassadors to interact together online. This was a site that's launched fairly recently, and having been in a software world myself, I was curious to learn more about it. George is a graduate of Providence College in economics and English. He founded the site originally in Connecticut, but it's grown to a much larger audience. So, George, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stuart.
What was the impetus to start the College Tea?
Yeah, it's a good question, an exciting question for us. It really started in the spring of 2020, right after COVID hit. I was living in Brooklyn, New York at the time, but because of the pandemic, I went back to my home in Wilton, Connecticut, and I was growing my own business, Style Site, which is a web design and development company, and I was very involved in the local community, offering internship opportunities, trying to create partnerships and relationships with people in Wilton and in Fairfield County at large. So I was very active on all the social media groups, the local ones, and I noticed a woman named Allie Beaumont, who is a IEC, a private college counselor in the area. She was posting on Facebook asking if any college students or graduates would volunteer to speak to any current high schoolers. She was basically posting that on social media and then providing a link to an Excel spreadsheet where a college student or graduate would put their name and the college they were attending or went to, so that local high schoolers who couldn't go visit colleges because of COVID, were able to get in touch with these people and sort of get the scoop on what a college was really all about. So I thought the idea was brilliant because when I was doing my college search, quite a while ago, almost 10 years now, at least starting it, I really enjoyed speaking to students who didn't have a bias, who didn't have an agenda on telling me what a college was all about. So I thought the idea was great. And then I also was impressed with the reaction. I believe Allie was able to get, 400 local college ambassadors, as we call them now, people to represent their schools for high schoolers to speak to. And so I reached out to Allie and I said, hey, I own a web development agency, and I think this is something we would love to develop in partnership with you. And she also let me know that another young woman, Amanda Duffy, who was at UVM at the time and graduated this past May, she was doing the same thing in Reading, Connecticut, which is right next door to us. And she had seen tremendous success as well. So in total, they gathered at least 700 college volunteers to speak to high schoolers. And so we got Amanda involved in the conversation. I got my partner James Ward, who is also a was a Wilton resident, went to Wilton High School. He's my partner at Style Site. Got him involved. My mom was doing some PR for me at the time, and she was in Wilton as well. So she transitioned from doing Style Site PR to helping out with the College Tea. And then finally, a young woman named Nia McCarthy, who was a Wilton High School student at the time and recently graduated and is going to St. Andrews, I believe. So that's kind of how the team developed and the impetus for where we started.
Now, how many ambassadors do you have today, and how many high school students have signed up to interact with them?
Yeah, so what we did was with that first those two first big lists, we reached out to everyone. And of course, given the importance of privacy and the management of data, we just asked permission or if they would be interested in creating profiles. And we saw a really high conversion rate from that. We got around, I think, 300 people who responded to our outreach and said, yeah, I remember the list I was on with Allie or Amanda. I would love to be a part of this website. So initially, we had around 300 ambassadors on the platform, and we wanted to make sure the platform was as good as it could be before we started doing public marketing. So we got those people on and kind of used them as a beta group. And then just last weekend, actually, we did our first soft marketing launch to the local towns, and we got an additional, I want to say, 50 to 100 people to sign up from that as well in a couple days. For ambassadors, we probably have around 350 to 400, and then now we've seen more high schoolers trickling in too because we've just started marketing to them. So I'd say in the past week we've probably seen another 50 to 100 high schoolers jump on the platform as well.
When a high school student registers for the platform to use the platform,
Mhm.
what do they see at the beginning after they've completed the registration, and what do they do? Do they set up appointments, or do they
Yeah,
actually, or do they see that George is here and they can type to George while they're in the site?
yeah. So I would say that the most often use case is that a high schooler will go to the website and they will type in a college they're interested in the search bar at the top. There's always a search bar at the top because that's the core function. They can type in Providence College, for example, and they would see all the ambassadors listed under Providence College. And they would be able to view these ambassadors' information, such as whether they're still at the college or not, what they study or studied at the college, maybe they were part of Greek life or in certain clubs. We try and get a lot of information on there just so people can reach out to the most applicable ambassadors. In order to reach out to one of these ambassadors, you need to create a free profile. So a high school will then be prompted to create a free profile, and then they'll be redirected back to the college student where they can send a message where basically they'll just say their name, the email that they want to be contacted through, and then a quick message. Ideally, in one of the next iterations of the platform, we're going to have in platform messaging like Airbnb, LinkedIn, all those big players where you can go back to the website to actually continue those conversations. For now, we are just basically taking it offline so people have conversations through email or over the phone.
So, when new ambassadors sign up,
Mhm.
do people who have registered get a message? In other words, you were interested in Providence College. We now have three new ambassadors from Providence College who are in the site that you can talk to. So
Mhm.
it reminds them that one, they have new people to meet, and two, that to come back to the site. Don't forget your
Yeah,
password. Come back and use the site. Do you do that
exactly.
now?
Yeah. We don't have that kind of personalized notifications happening at this point. We've really been only developing the site for probably around 8 to 10 months now. So
Interesting.
we kind of got our first MVP out, our first version of the platform out in probably early summer, and then we then presented that to a few dozen different people, everyone from high school students, college students, parents, private counselors, even a few colleges and high schools. We just wanted to basically get everyone's input who we thought would find value in the site, and then redesign or implement their feedback. And that V2 we finished up only maybe a month ago, and like I said, and gave it out to the public about a week or so ago. And already we've been getting a ton of feedback from people with ideas like that, for example. And we just have a huge list of what we want for the site eventually. So personalized notifications like that is definitely one. Right now, the core function of the site really is the autonomy to search through a number of different colleges and universities you're interested in for free. There's no limit on the number of searches, and then being able to connect with people. And there are basic notifications, right? Such as, this high schooler wants to speak to you. Here's the information they submitted. But
Okay.
eventually, yeah, I would like it to be a much more personalized experience because we know that the college search process isn't just a one-time, conversation or search.
And the other thing too is it might change with the
Mhm.
pandemic. You might have someone choose a college where they had to go home
Mhm.
and they weren't, and they hear that, oh, I might have to go home next fall or the
Yeah.
spring, and I want to leave, so I want to talk to someone at another college. What you
Yeah.
did is really timely, and I think you've done a great job at reaching out to the community that you knew well. Now, what have you done to reach out beyond your part of Connecticut?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I think when you're trying to build something that can be as large as I imagine this can be, there's like I said before, just an endless list of to-dos and priorities, and it's sort of like, where can we go from here? The goal for me as someone who was leading the strategic direction of the college T was to sort of make a case study out of our area, sort of say, if you have a group of people who are very interested in going to college, how can the college T help them in different ways? And like I said before, the primary user, of course, is the high schooler who's searching for college students at schools they're interested in. But very quickly, I mean, I remember my parents during the college search and the pressure and all and everything that comes with it as a parent. And I imagine it's a tool that parents will find very useful as well and will heavily encourage their kids to utilize. Same with independent counselors, right? College counselors who have a number of different clients that they want to help out. Um, so to answer your question about, expanding beyond the local area, I think once again, we kind of want to make a case study out of the current environment and then replicate it as quickly as possible. One note on that is naturally, this has already spread to people who are in California, all the way across the US. My girlfriend actually lives in California, and right after we launched the first or the second version of the site last week, we were hanging out and she got a notification from a high schooler right there who was also in California. So no idea how that person found out, but our ambassadors are across a number of different states, and it seems like the high schoolers are following suit pretty quickly as well.
What what are your intentions after these people choose a college? Is it to keep them in the database? Is it to ask them where they went? Is it to do
Yep.
anything with their information at all? Or is it to just remove them? You figure, okay, I chose a school. I don't really need to come back unless I want to transfer. Um,
Yeah. The different types of or the life cycle, you could say, of a college T user for high schoolers would probably be that they get involved when they start their college search, right? Even just you're interested in whatever school, not for any reason, just because you've heard about it a bunch. You reach out to somebody and start talking to them. Then you go through the application process. You become accepted to schools, and then you once again you would probably reach out to more people from those schools you've been accepted to help with your final decision. From there, what I would love to see is that high schoolers had such a good experience and helpful experience using the college T that they want to become ambassadors themselves for their new schools. So that would be, to me, an amazing goal and accomplishment for us is transitioning those users who once sought help from the platform to being the people ready to volunteer their time to help other people make that really important decision. And
so,
then
so you'd have
there's
to
some
keep them in the database for a little bit of time.
yeah, and with permission, right? I could just imagine they'll get a notification after that sort of time period of realistic time period of them making their college decision saying, give us an update on where you're at, update your profile accordingly, and just make it super easy for people to change from high school user to ambassador and a new profile setup basically.
Now, how do you keep ambassadors excited? Because some
Mhm.
people, if they write a little better profile, or they're in a major that's fairly popular, they're going to get more attention than someone who doesn't write much of doesn't provide much
Yeah.
information, doesn't write well, or is in a major that most people are not thinking about. How-
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of our most interesting questions, right? Is why would people volunteer their time to do this? And some people won't. Some people aren't going to be interested or have the time to help the high schoolers make decisions about the colleges that they're interested in. But at the same time, just from I think it all comes back to that original insight of seeing so many people volunteer their time for those original lists that Ali and Amanda were putting together. I just was like, there's something there in the human nature of this, of people empathizing with a situation that they used to be in and wanting to give back, kind of the pay it forward mentality. With that said, I do see a world where this is in high schools and private schools and colleges and universities where there is sort of a dialogue going on where if you want people to represent your college or university, you kind of encourage them to do so as well, because it's in every school's best interest to have representation on this platform.
have you noticed like a mother or father sneaking in there, like their son or daughter?
We haven't caught anyone in the system who is pretending to be someone they're not. I think I do see a situation in which, I like I said, I mean, I was the eldest among my siblings, so I was the first to go to college. Also, I'm a first generation college student. My parents came over from England in 1998, and it's a bit different over there. So this whole, especially somewhere like Fairfield County, Connecticut, where the focus on college is so strong. I just remember the stress in the house, and I was not a great high school student, so that was additional stress. Um, so I could see a world where parents could find some relief of having some sort of account on this platform, and I don't, as of now, see any fallbacks on parents being able to browse college students and graduates and setting up meetings on behalf of their children. Although I know my mom would definitely be encouraging me intensely to be the one on the platform myself.
And do you have plan what do you have plans to upgrade the support around the site as the user base grows? Because I imagine the more records you have in here, the more speed you'll need, the more
Yeah.
server space you'll need.
Yeah, we're very it's awesome that my partner James, my partner from Style Site, James is a great web developer and designer and is very good at quickly making edits that are hugely effective on the platform. So it's very important that we have someone so technically savvy, um, who's incentivized to want to keep building and improving the platform. In terms of communication from users, we have an email, thecolleget@gmail.com, and that's also hooked up to our contact form on the website. So last week, we probably got like 50 inquiries of people saying everything just from thank you for building this, and I'm super excited to use it. We had people who said, hey, I don't see this college represented. Do you have any ambassadors? Which was really interesting. And honestly, we just immediately went out and tried to find some. I went on my LinkedIn network and found people who went to those colleges, and I say, hey, we have an immediate need. I reached out to two people who attended a college that a user was interested in, and they both within 24 hours were like, yep, just created my profile, let them know so that I can speak to them. So once again, that was another point on just something to do with the human nature of people wanting to give back to people who are in a situation that they once were. But to answer your question directly, Stuart, yes, I mean, ultimately right now it's just me answering all the contact forms, and I love having a hand directly with our customers. But I'm sure, once more resources are available, we'll figure out how to make sure that everyone's questions can get answered as timely as they're getting answered now.
Have colleges contacted you about this platform to ask you what you do and how the students sign up and what they do and don't say about a school?
Yeah, I mean, so far we've spoken to a couple different schools, kind of just on our own outreach. Our schools that our team members went to, just reaching out and saying, hey, we have this idea. There's not really something like it in the market. We think it could be super useful for you guys to have a presence on the platform. And honestly, right now, the goal of that is just to get feedback and to understand how we could make this platform more valuable for colleges and universities. So that's very much a conversation in progress right now, but one that I think will become more and more important as the site grows.
Do you have plans to monetize the site?
So I think there's there's something to be said about offering the main function of the site for free indefinitely. The I there's not everyone. One thing that we got a lot of feedback on, and that we are have has always been a conversation, is diversity on the site and inclusion, in the sense that Fairfield County is a very privileged place where usually people have a lot of disposable income and resources to sort of fully dive into the college search, visit schools, hire counselors, get assistance with testing, et cetera, et cetera. Not a lot of places don't have that kind of ability or privilege to do those things. So we want the College T to remain a site where anybody from any background can simply go on, create a free profile, and have conversations. Now, with that said, in order for the site to grow, there is going to be a need for revenue to be coming in. So I do see opportunities perhaps for like a premium profile, kind of what LinkedIn offers maybe. But that's still very much in conversation. But to answer your question directly, we want to maintain the core function, the searching of college ambassadors. We want to maintain that being free.
One thing I can see down the road is sometimes people think of colleges and groups. You mentioned diversity earlier. Like I would think there might be students interested in HBCUs in general,
Mhm.
even though they may not have their heart set on one particular school at the moment, or
Yep.
they may think about women's colleges
Yeah.
and things like that. Does
Well,
the
very
functionality allow that?
interestingly, yeah, and very interestingly, we had people who reached out about trade schools as well, which is not something that it might not be a common conversation for many high schoolers. But we want everyone to be covered under the college T in the sense that there is an ambassador for everybody. It's also interesting, right? Because I was talking to somebody from UVM, and they were saying that they have a really budding environmental department over there, and they wanted specific representation for that because they want more people to go to UVM, in particular for a certain major or field of study. So once again, an opportunity for colleges to sort of look at their the layout of their student body and say, what kind of people do we want on the platform to represent different facets of our college or university?
I mean, I can see because I could see interest groups revolving around students choosing a particular college. I want to study engineering. I
Mhm.
want to study computer science. I want to study nursing.
Yeah.
And they may not know a school, but they know they want to do this field.
Yeah, and I think you're getting into segmented searching where instead of just searching by a college, right? Like you're saying, you can search ambassadors by uh, a major or a field of study. You can search them. Maybe you're going to school for sports, so you can search athletes or even something a bit more um, a bit less popular like marching band or something. Just that's why with the profile, one of the biggest improvements we made in the V2 was profile information, where we've created a pretty complex tagging system in the back end just to organize all this data so that when we are ready, we can do segmented searches and give users the ability to search based not just on colleges, but also interests or demographic information, et cetera.
Was the pandemic an important driver for all of you to work together?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was definitely the reason that the initiative started. Now, what's interesting is a immediate question, right? Is this relevant after COVID times? And the answer to me is still absolutely, because I think the platform um, fills a need, and like I was saying before, where not everybody has the time or the luxury to be able to visit colleges or campuses. And even when you do, I mean, I still think you experience the college through a certain lens. Like when I went to Providence College, I remember the tour. They're of course led by people who work for the admissions departments and everything. And it's still a great experience. And I think you see all the best sides of the campus, right? But we all know that that's not, there's so much more you should factor into your college decision than just what you experience on the campus during a tour. So while I think COVID might have been the inspiration for the site, I think this platform is going to be an indefinitely useful tool for people doing their college searches.
George, thank you for joining me this afternoon. This is a very easy to use opportunity to talk to colleges, to talk to students.
Mhm.
I would encourage it whether you've received acceptances and you're looking to compare schools, or whether you're about to begin the search and you want to talk to people who go to those schools or went to them before you even send an application. Thank
Yeah.
you very much, George, for the time.
Thanks for having me, Stuart.